Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I bear witness that there is none worth worship besides Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his messenger. I want to just greet and thank everyone for being here again this Sunday on Study Al-Islam, and to wish you all good health and safety, and just to say to you that I'm so grateful, and I know that we as a community are grateful to see each other. We have with us Dr. Clyde El-Amin, and I've been knowing him for about 40 years. I met him in Chicago, Illinois. And what I'd like to do is just get right to it. You can read his complete bio on studyalislam.com website, but I want to bring him right in because he does have a demanding schedule. So Dr. Clyde, before we get into talking about the conference, for those who may not know you, could you please take a brief time and introduce yourself? You're on mute.
I was about to say, can everyone hear me? But as often as I do these things, I still find myself getting used to them. Well, first of all, let me tell you this. This is the most intimidating audience I ever go before. I'm always intimidated by my own community more so than any place else, because I feel like I'm talking to people that grew up with me in Al-Islam. So I never really assume any position of quote unquote, superiority. So I always feel like I'm having a conversation. I don't feel like I'm lecturing you because I don't have anything to lecture you about. I can share knowledge with you and you can share knowledge with me. And so I start this off in anticipation that that will be the dynamic. Most people don't get me to do this. Fitra is unrelenting. So you see me this morning because she simply would not give up. But I would also like to say this, because this is something else people get on my case about in two ways. Because I'm sure there are some academics on here. I'm probably one of the few people that was given a quote unquote a PhD by Imam Worthy Muhammad. And I say that jokingly, but at the same time, I'm somewhat serious. I used to correct him all the time when he would refer to me as doctor, because I'm speaking from the angle of the quote unquote, the academic establishment. And he made it clear to me that he wasn't speaking from that angle. He was speaking from the angle of I would say the new academic traditions that we were establishing because of the light that he was bringing to the world. And so I accept that with great humility. And I think it's a much greater honor than one that could have been given to me by any academic institution. So I just want to make sure I clear that because I think that honors him more than me saying nothing. Okay. I'm excited about this conference. I don't want Sister Fitra to get any more excited about it than she is. I think she needs to relax so that we can move this thing along and let it be what it is destined to be, because it is destined to be something great. I don't think the timing could be any better. So I'm going to share something quickly with you that just happened to me last Thursday. We had a conference here in Chicago. It wasn't a conference, it was a report out. It was an event reporting the results of the survey of Muslims in Illinois. If this is the first time it's been done at a level that anyone felt comfortable presenting it to the public as a product of research. And it's a survey of Illinois Muslims. I'll get that number. I'll get that to Fitra, that link, because I think some of you would like to see it. Because this is a microcosm of the Muslim communities all over the country. I admit I did not know that Illinois had the largest number of Muslims per capita in the country. And I think we had something to do with that. I don't think that came out as clearly as it probably should have come out when we reported that study. My role on the program was not to report the study. My role was to do some of the other things around the ceremony itself. But that an issue that came up as people were reading some of the other literature, other comments that accompanied that, were some comments about our community. And the complaint from some was a justifiable complaint that it wasn't exactly accurate, but also that it wasn't as robust as we felt it should be as a community. My simple answer to that is it's because we weren't in control of the narrative. Okay. And we won't always be in control of the narrative, but we have a responsibility to influence the narrative, not because our community needs to be glorified, but because the truth needs to be uplifted. And everybody loses. We lose, all the other Muslim communities lose if we don't uplift the truth about the victories and the challenges of al-Islam in America, because that is what makes it what it is today. And one of the comments I really appreciated that was totally unprovoked by any of us was a comment made by the last speaker on that event, Dr. Zahir Sahlul. He's a very, very, very prominent physician who does a lot of work around the world that is kind of like Doctors Without Borders, but it's another name. It's Muslim oriented. He said, we have to all admit to everyone in that room, mostly Muslims from outside of our community, although there was a healthy representation from us, we all have to admit that we're only here because African-American Muslims paved the way for us. They made it possible for us to be here. I'd say Imam Warithin Muhammad is the star in that saga that he's talking about. And so we don't just need to do this because we need to acknowledge him. We need to do this because the truth of how al-Islam has grown in America cannot be told to any significant degree without the story of Imam Warithin Muhammad. So that, I felt this way before that event, but after that event, I said, well, some people are beginning to realize this outside of our community. But the most important thing to me is that we realize it more and more each day, that we know the power of what he's given us. We know how much we've been enlightened by it, but the historical, social, even scientific significance of what he has given us is what we owe to the world. This is not something, to me, this is not us bragging. This is us doing our duty to the world. And Allah will continue to reward us, and he reward us immensely for doing that. So I definitely want to thank Sister Fitra and all that were involved in rolling this effort out. And I want to do what I can to be in support of it. So the conference starts out with the speech by Dr. Diop at the dinner. And I've been learning about her. Now, I have to admit that I slept on her. I spent a lot of time around academics, but I did sleep on this sister. I heard about her. But the part of it that really excites me is the work that she did about the slave ship Clotilde, which was the last ship that was caught smuggling slaves into the country. That has a very personal connection to me because I'm from Alabama originally. I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, was raised, as we say down south, around Montgomery and in Montgomery. So I was raised in the country and raised in Montgomery. And I have relatives who live in Mobile now. And the importance of this ship is resurfacing. It's becoming a topic of conversation again. It's becoming a topic of popular conversation. It obviously was a topic of academic conversations when she wrote the book. That was years ago, but it's becoming a topic of common conversation among common people now. But what I really love about her is the attention she has given to the role of Muslims and al-Islam in the rise of our freedom, first of all. I think she lets us see how, I admit, upon reading her work, that I had a much too shallow understanding of the role al-Islam has played in the freedom struggle of African Americans. And I read that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm really into that. And I'm sure many of you are really into that. And I don't say this with regret. I say this with joy, because we're going to continue to understand more and more about the role that Al-Islam has played. You know, we should never think history is like any other kind of science. You know, the story never ends. It's like, I call it like science looking backwards as well. There's science looking forward, and there's science looking backwards. As the science of history continues to evolve, we find out more and more about our past that we didn't know. Just as we are constantly finding out new discoveries about the universe that we live in today, you know, the earth that we live in today, but the same thing is happening about our history. And alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. This is Allah's way, you know, and we are just beneficiaries of it. And it's wonderful to be living in the time that we're living in, as Al-Islam is resurfacing as a major influence, you know, in America and the world. And we're not just, you know, the gophers on the set. You know, we're stars in the movie now. But we're not arrogant stars. We're very humble stars. You know, we're constantly trying to make sure that we take the responsibility to know more and more and deliver more and more to our people. So I see this conference as us kind of stepping onto another stage in a way. You know, this is by no means, if I have to say this 3 times, if anybody that needs to raise their hand and say, ask me a question if you get confused. We've had many conferences in our community. We continue to have conferences in our community. This is the first one, I think, on this scale, definitely in Chicago, at an American Muslim college, a college with Muslim roots, on the topic, primarily focused on the topic of Imam Wardi Muhammad. To me, it's like we're kind of presenting him anew to the world, to much of the world that hasn't heard from him. So I hope that one of the things that we do is we really invite academics outside of our community to this conference. Not, obviously, we're going to be there in large numbers, but I think we need to bring academics from outside of our community in to hear this. I want to leverage the connections that I made and the debts that I put in place by participating in this last project about the research on Illinois Muslims. You know, I haven't told them that I wasn't working for free yet. I'm going to tell them, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to support this conference. You know, I want you to invite people. And I think all of us have relationships outside of our community. Many of us in the Midwest area, I know people are going to come from all over the country, maybe internationally to the conference. But I know we have a chance of getting many more people who are geographically even closer that may not be from our community to attend this conference, because they need to hear. We need to hear ourselves. We don't know ourselves, our story, and its full depth and its implications, but we know a whole lot more than other people who influence other people, you know, about our history and about our community. And as I say, it's still an evolving story. You know, she really helps me appreciate that it's an evolving story. I don't think we realize what we have in our own community, though, in terms of its importance to people outside of our community. And I say that not with any sense that I know it more than any of us do. I'm saying we've grown up with each other. We all know the dynamics of, you know, a prophet in his home. We've all grown up with each other. So we see each other, we know each other, we appreciate each other's greatness, because I talk to myself and others about the intellectual community that has grown up, and that is a result of scholarship driven by the insights of Imam Wardi Muhammad. I mean, I'm afraid to start calling names because I'll leave somebody out. But I'll just say this. The people that I see on the lineup, I don't think many of them are really into themselves like this. And so I'm not saying this with any level of surprise, but they represent sort of an academic frontier, whether they have credentials or not. The thoughts, the concepts, the ideas, the light that they shine, which is a reflection of the light that Imam Warthi Muhammad brought to us, is powerful. I think if we could go forward 100 years and look back, I think we'd say, wow, we had no idea that that's what was going on. So I think she's going to be a great tone setter, for lack of a better word, for the conference. I'd like to talk a little bit about AIC, and you have to help me with the time, Sister Fitri, although I'm sure I'm going to get a call in about 14 minutes if I'm not on the other line. But anyway.
You're good. It's 10:16 at 10:25. I'm going to stop you. No worries.
Okay, cool. Very good. So what I was about to say, American Islamic College always reminds me of the relatively unknown, definitely unheralded work that Imam Warthi Muhammad did in the space that we call higher education today. I'm no smarter than anyone about any of these things. I just happened to be, I had a front row seat because I was on the project. And that's the reason I know the deep commitment that he made. I also know the deep understanding that he had of the importance of us having our own institutions from, you might say the cradle to the highest levels of, university education. That was not only just a vision for him, he took very concrete steps to make sure that happened. Most of us know about the steps that he took with regard to our preschool, elementary school, and high schools around the country to develop a model of excellence. I should say models of excellence, because he knew that would be more than one school in our network of schools then, as we have a network of schools now, that would model excellence in different ways. And that our plan was to imitate the best of everything we saw, no matter where we saw it in any institution. But the other thing he realized is that our educational institution was our kind of our reproductive system. And you had to be in control of that, or you would not be in control of the education of your community. You had to train your own teachers. You had to train your own thinkers. You had to train your own philosophers. You had to train, you had to train your own in any area that you could as soon as you could. But he wanted to start in the area of education. So he launched this project to establish we called it American Muslim Teachers College. And that project went pretty far down the road. It was a very, very, very robust project that probably took more than a year to get to the point that we actually submitted an application to the Board of Higher Education in the state of Illinois to start a college, to operate a college. Very, 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 very complex, very detailed project that had everything from every course you were going to teach, to every teacher that you were going to hire, to every administrator that you were going to hire, to a very detailed budget that covered at least 5 years, a statement of your facilities, what your facilities you had, what facilities you were planning to build, et cetera. And one of the things that came out of that was we were gifted a library. When I say a library, I don't just mean a collection of books, but we were gifted a collection of books and a building that was built as a library right across the street from what's now Mosque Mariam here. But back then, of course, we were still there. Imam Warthi Muhammad was there. Claire Muhammad School was operating there. So right across the street from the school, this library that was built. And the ruler of the Sultan of Sharjah, one of the emirates, who donated the money, traveled to the United States, to Chicago, to actually dedicate that building. That building was dedicated The library was completely supplied with books and everything, and that was going to be the basic, you might say, the epicenter of that American Muslim Teachers College. Then I don't remember this. I don't remember all of the story. It's probably not the time to go into it. It would be too complex. It would leave too many things, questions unanswered. But that didn't materialize. But the Imam continued with that effort because we'd already done all that work, and he looked into actually starting a boarding school in North Carolina, and that was the old Palmer, very historic Palmer Memorial Institute that was ran by a Black woman by the name of Charlotte Hawkins Brown. If you don't really know her story, I can tell you her story reminds me a lot of the story of Mary McLeod Bethune. She didn't get the prominence of Mary McLeod Bethune. She wasn't as widely known, but it was very much in that spirit and that philosophy of doing something educationally to elevate the race, as they said then. Miss Mary McLeod Bethune's institution still remains, Bethune-Cookman College, a university now. Palmer Memorial Institute ended up closing, but it had great support from outstanding and prominent people. In fact, the family of Nat King Cole's wife was related to that institution, and Natalie Cole actually went to that institution. So he was still very much committed to that. That did not move down the road as he probably wanted it to before, he left us. But that, just to give you an idea. Now, he put that spirit and that possibility out into the atmosphere, I like to say. No one else was thinking about that. No one else was talking about that. And then some folks got the idea to start a college that wasn't a teacher's college, but it was more academic. And I have to borrow a word from maybe the Christian world now. It was more of an Islamic religious institution. Of course, ours would have included that component, but it would have been also focused on preparing teachers so that institution could continue to exist. So, but American Islamic College got off the ground after we started this effort, and they managed to actually secure approval, and they started it, and they got off to a pretty good start. But like a lot of institutions, they ran into a serious bump or two in the road. They closed it, but they reopened it, and they reestablished approval. They reestablished their accreditation, and it continues to exist. They have their challenges. They're very excited about joining our community in this effort, because I think now they have come to a very profound realization that their future lies with us more than they probably thought it did.
Right.
And I think we are just as responsible as they are to protect Islamic higher education in America, but also to make sure we bring the influence, the academic traditions that we have that are very rich and potent to any institution such as that. So at that point, Sister Fitra, I think I'm going to wrap up just to give some time for some comments, unless you want me to continue.
I would, Clyde, please continue. There's no way I'm cutting you off. I mean, this is so valuable to us because it's a history that we don't know. That, first of all, I think you did not tell people, you did not share what your title was, even, you know.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. They need to know the relationship, the responsibility that was placed upon you by Imam Muhammad. Okay. The highest place in paradise.
Okay. I am the worst one to introduce myself, like I said earlier.
I know.
Okay. But I worked with Imam Waridin Muhammad. I started off working with him as a teacher in the school. And then after that, I moved to working with him on of course, I moved from being a teacher to being, I guess I'd say I had three titles. I'm not even sure whether I had formally three titles. I had three responsibilities, that's for sure. Yeah. This college was one of them that came out of working as the coordinator or the administrator of all the schools we had in the country at the time. When I stepped into that role, we had 46 schools still operating around the country. And we were all working together to come up with, first of all, a model curriculum for Sister Clara Muhammad schools. And this project was one aspect of that, but it was all of the schools were involved in this. It wasn't being dictated from Chicago that this is going to be our curriculum. Imam Muhammad told me we look for models of excellence wherever we find those models of excellence, you know, around the country in our schools, we adopt them. But he also said models of excellence anywhere, we adopt the best. So his instructions to us, even in developing our own curriculum, was you find the examples of those things that are most excellent, those things that are most impactful and most respected around the country. So most of our curriculum work, we were very fortunate to be here in Chicago because we had Northwestern University, which had a curriculum collection that was internationally known and respected. So we did a lot of our work in terms of models that already existed at Northwestern University and found them to be profoundly in line with Islamic teachings. You know, you don't find much that's successful, very successful in this world that does not have Islamic principles somewhere, you know, at its core. Even if they don't know it, or if they don't give credit to it, what have you. So that was what I did with Imam Worthy. And of course, back then we did a lot of things. We didn't do just one thing. I also taught the school. Right. I was the principal of the school, you know, and I left and went back to where I'd come from at the time professionally, to the City Colleges of Chicago. I was at Olive Harvey College. Left Olive Harvey College when I came to the school. I was coming from Olive Harvey College as special assistant to the president. Then I went back, and when I left, I went back into City Colleges of Chicago. I think I went back to Malcolm X, but spent most of my time at Kennedy King College, and worked there. I went through a series of administrative positions, and when I left there, I was a president there, and I transferred to Olive Harvey College, and I retired from Olive Harvey College as the president of Olive Harvey College, and went into a form of retirement. But you know, it was really an opportunity to have the freedom to do some things I wanted to do. So I'm involved as mostly a nonprofit consultant now, because I realize there's a lot of opportunity for us in many ways in the nonprofit world, financially and otherwise. And it's a tool that we need to use to our advantage that was not necessarily created for us to use to our advantage. It was created for some other people to use. And we've mastered the art of making it work for us. So I do that primarily, and I'm involved in a couple of small business ventures right now, and enjoying being a grandfather.
So I think you've made the point how important that this isn't a coincidence that this conference is going to be at American Islamic College, but that Imam Muhammad had an interest in this college, and you've made clear what the purpose and what was behind his interest. And I didn't know that. At least I forgot that that information. I mean, that's been when did this project get started? And I know you have to leave, but just
actually, I think it had to be in the mid to late 70s. It had to be the late 70s. It was 1975 when he came in. And,
exactly.
Yeah. So I think it probably the latter part of the 70s and maybe the first year of the 80s. It was still rolling along pretty robustly. Yes.
And so I have to believe that this has been decreed by Allah. I have to believe that, because I completely forgot about American Islamic College, and it wasn't until that the conference was placed there that I found this out. And so I want to believe that the vision of Imam Muhammad, someone told me that Imam Muhammad said that there would be a period of time when it would look like our community was dormant, but he was planting new seeds, and that those trees would grow perhaps when he wasn't around. And so I want to believe that this college being there is a result of the seeds that he had planted in 1970, early 80s.
Yes.
And this is no coincidence, Dr. Clyde.
I think you're right. Absolutely think you're right. Well, I have to go to another Zoom now.
I know you do. I know, but I'm going to put you on the spot for a second because people are texting me and saying they want to know more about, especially the educational aspect of this, and you talking about how we need to teach our children, we need to teach our teachers, we need to provide that kind of instruction. So I'm gonna have to say to you, you have to come back to study Al-Islam at your convenience, at your earliest convenience, just to talk about on this subject.
Inshallah, we'll do.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in Chicago, and we're going to transition into our next topic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Dr. Ali, are you with us? Dr. Ali, if you're with us, please take yourself off of mute. I want to just say that I'm waiting for Dr. Ali to come on because Dr. Ali, don't worry about the PowerPoint. Let me share a comment and get your response. Are you with us, Dr. Ali? Naima, if you could get Dr. Ali on the and ask him to come on the line, Masha. But I want to say this about the conference. You know, Imam Muhammad asked. Are you with us, Dr. Ali? Dr. Ali.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Listen, nothing happens by coincidence. So I'm going to say to you, don't worry about the fact that the presentation is not prepared because you're going to be on the conference. And so this is an opportunity for everyone to know that will attend the conference, that they're going to learn about New Medina and how this whole community got started and how you built it. Dr. Ali, Dr. Ali, Dr. Ali.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear you, Sister Fitcher.
Okay, can you hear me now? Dr. Ali, can you hear me? Anyway, Dr. Ali is having problems with his PowerPoint, but Dr. Ali is a part of the conference, and he will be preparing his PowerPoint for the conference, and you'll learn more about that. So I just want to say this before we end the program. Imam Muhammad asked us to give him a good future. And I thought about that for a moment, and I said to myself, what could he have been asking us? Because as you can see, I'm all gray, and I don't know how much of a good future I can give him because life is moving. And I thought about it, and I said, when you think about a good future, what do we think about? We think about our young people. So the conference is free to young people, students under the age of 24 with a school ID. They get in for free. We should fill that auditorium with young people to hear the message of Imam Waduddin Muhammad, the story. Dr. Ali, can you hear me yet? I see you, but are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Dr. Ali, I want to stop for a second because I want to give you an opportunity. First of all, I want to say to you, please stop worrying about that PowerPoint because you are going to be a part of the conference. And actually, I don't want people to see the PowerPoint now because I want them to come to the conference and see how you and everyone and how you and your team built a community. So what I want to say to you or ask you is, why don't you share a little bit about how excited you are about the conference and what you feel that the takeaway on the conference is, and then we're going to close out because I believe that this is not a coincidence and that your PowerPoint is not meant to be shown. I don't want to give anybody a preview of what you're going to show them at the conference. So share with us what you feel about participating in the conference and giving Imam Muhammad a good life.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Sister Fitcher. I think you're doing a wonderful job with Study Al-Islam. Well, our mission in Mississippi was to accomplish or answer the call. The call first came from Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he said, we must have some of this earth to call our own. That came and it hit the ears of a brother who is now deceased, Brother Abdul Sharif. And he was adamant about establishing a community here in Mississippi. Well, we went to Elijahville and we heard Imam Muhammad speaking there. And Imam Muhammad said, you know, we should go outside of the cities, get ourselves together, and reapproach the cities from a position of strength. And what that meant to us, that was another call. So in Mississippi, we had the opportunity to purchase 63 acres of land. And with that, we decided that we would call it New Medina, meaning new city. And the man was very excited about that because he said that this would give us another opportunity, a real opportunity to get a new start in America. And we'll at the conference, we'll speak on that, and I'll bring some of the events that have occurred since 1987. This is 36 years of work. In fact, this is a lifelong mission, you know, and we don't worry about, you know, what we've established in terms of a mosque, school, a community center. We have houses. We have at least 6 or 8 streets named after attributes of Allah. We're on the map. We are now striving to become incorporated as a municipality. And we know this will probably be one of the first municipalities that is Islamically controlled in the United States. And we always say that every city in the United States is established on something. New Medina is established on the oneness of Allah. And there's no city in this country that is established on that premise. So we're working to develop that. There's some new things that are coming, and we are really, really happy that we will get that opportunity to present this at the conference in Chicago. So we'll have pictures and evidence of the development as we've worked over the last 36 years to do. And we'll talk about future things that are on the rise. We see New Medina as a place that people can come to relax and really hear the history of our people. And not only that, the struggles that we've had in this country. So again, you know, this will be a place, you know, they got Disneyland, they got all these other places. Why can't we have a resort where we can come and relax and really get ourselves together and hear the stories? So we're really on a mission to establish that community. So again, Sister Fisher, we are quite excited to be able to come to Chicago to present this.
Thank you. And with that, I want to say again, nothing happens by coincidence. This was supposed to happen so